What's up, guys? This is Taco from DFS Army breaking down the driver and team changes for the 2025 NASCAR season. Going to go over all three of the major series, starting, of course, with the Cup Series. Got some big changes this year, a few more than in seasons past, and it's going to all start up with the big breaking news that we got from last season. RIP Stuart Haas. Stuart Haas Racing is gone. It's out of here. For a long time, it was really only carried by Kevin Harvick, and you had people like Danica Patrick, Eric Almirola, Chase Briscoe, Kurt Busch towards the end of his career, Tony Stewart towards the end of his career. Obviously, the co-owner who is long gone for this franchise. Gene Haas is left with just one of the four charters. The other three got sent away to other teams. Some litigation in the works over the offseason regarding that. Nonetheless, as for where the four cars ended up, we've got to start with the number 41 car, formerly ran by Cole Custer. He will once again be ran by Cole Custer. Ryan Preece ran this car last year, and it was really they were really getting some bad equipment towards the end of the year, sometimes running at the very back of the field compared to years past. Ryan Preece, of course, someone that's always going to be pretty decent at the super speedways and the short tracks, but really struggled at like the intermediate tracks last year. And this would be the one car ran by the Haas factory team with the technical alliance from RFK. So no more Tony Stewart in the picture. He's long gone. Gene Haas will be running this one car in the upcoming season. Having a technical alliance with RFK is nice, but with them adding another car here to their group, this is now like the fourth car essentially. I don't know if this will be like a Wood Brothers to Penske type situation, but the upside is not really all that great here for Cole Custer. Of course, Cole Custer coming off of once again being really good in the Xfinity Series and moving back up to the Cup Series. Like he was really really good last season, but here we've got to expect him to be in the lower half of the cars on a week to week basis here, speed wise. I would guess his price range typically is going to be in the 6-7K range, probably more in the 6K range. Then you've got the number 4 car, once piloted by the great Kevin Harvick. Josh Berry stepped in his place last season. Showed some upside, like that team had a little bit of upside going on, but they really faltered in a lot of spots here. And now this number 4 car is going to be going over to Front Row Motorsports, a team on the rise in the NASCAR Cup Series. And this will be their third entry. They've ran 2 cars for a while, and this will be the third front row car. Noah Gragson will be piloting it. He is back again. Too good for the Xfinity Series. He gets to carry on in the Cup Series, and it looks like a pretty decent spot for him over there on Front Row Motorsports. Now, will they be running 3 cars just as well? With the expansion, will one of the cars kind of be the run to the litter, or will all the cars kind of, maybe lose a little bit of speed as the resources get stretched out a bit? That remains to be seen. We've not seen very much on-track action so far. We've just seen the clash and like qualifying of Daytona last night. Like we don't really know a whole lot here yet, but Front Row really seems to be on the up and up, and they have a lot of things that have switched up and changed with them. We'll get more into that team in the future here. Moving on to the 14 car, formerly Tony Stewart's car, formerly Clint Boyer's car, and Chase Briscoe is the last person to ride this thing around. He's moved on to a better opportunity. This charter was sold to Trackhouse Racing, adding their third charter, and it's pretty straightforward what this one's all about. Shane Van Gisbergen finally getting his big chance running full-time in the Cup Series after running full-time in the Xfinity Series last year. Of course, he's going to just be looking to take those street courses and road courses, get some wins there, get Trackhouse into the playoffs. Pretty straightforward. And the number 10 car of Danica Patrick and then ultimately Eric Almirola, who retired at the end of last season. That car will be sent off to 23XI to make a third car for Riley Herbst. Riley Herbst brings in very consistent sponsorship. He was all right in Xfinity, but this seems more like a sponsorship play. I don't have very high hopes for this car overall. I do not think he'll be running anywhere as good as, Tyler Reddick, obviously, who's one of the front runners of the season. I think he's obviously going to be the top dog. Bubba Wallace is going to be that second dog, and Herbst is probably going to be in the doghouse, and I am not really sold on his skills outside of super speedways, but he'll be going over to 23XI as they go to expand their garage. And Gene Haas will be running two Xfinity teams. The 00 will be run by Creed. Of course, that was Custer's car from last year. And then the number 41, new entry for them, will be run by Sam Mayer, who's moving over from Junior Motorsports. Martin Truex Jr. retires. Goodbye, Martin Truex Jr., your beloved former champion. And we've already seen some big things from his replacement, Chase Briscoe. He's going to be running that JGR number 19. He just set the pole for the Daytona 500. Pretty big deal for him there. We already saw him be in the $9,000 range at the Clash. You can expect him to be pretty expensive on a week-to-week basis. Get that elite upside at the short and flat tracks. We saw with the Clash, his price is going to be way up there. Now you've got to treat him like a good JGR driver. Chase Briscoe dominated in the Xfinity Series. Moved up, was kind of stuck in Stewart-Haas equipment. We got to have a higher outlook for Briscoe this season. Once he figures out the JGR Toyotas, he will have some really, really high upside, especially on those short and flat tracks where last year JGR showed the most speed. Like Denny Hamlin was the best overall short track racer last year. You got to put Chase Briscoe up there, maybe even higher than Truex's upside last year. So he's someone you've got to watch. He's no longer going to be in that 7K range. He is going to be probably an 8K driver most weeks, 9K at the short tracks. And RFK, another team on the up and up, Roush Fenway Keselowski Racing, adds a third car, number 60. And that'll be Ryan Preece running full-time, coming over from Stewart-Haas Racing. He's another guy that comes from the Welland Modified Series, is really good at the short and flat tracks, and not bad at super speedways as well. This car did run in 3 races last season as kind of like a project car, and in those runs, pretty much all specialists. You had the Daytona 500. David Reagan came in, got your 20th place. He's, of course, a Daytona guy. You had Cam Waters running at Sonoma. It was not a good run there, but we saw this car do really good things at the Chicago Street Race. You had the road course specialist, Joey Hand, ending up with a 4th place finish there. Very impressive run. This car has looked pretty fast overall, kind of up there with the other RFK guys. It's very impressive in Daytona qualifying, but again, we haven't seen a whole lot here. It was kind of underwhelming in the Clash, but should just be the third fiddle for RFK Racing. Front Row Motorsports, kind of mentioned them earlier. Another team on the up and up. Noah Gragson go into that third number 4 car. Kind of talked about him already, but Zane Smith coming over from Spire into that number 38 car piloted by Todd Gilliland last year. And with Michael McDowell on the way out in the 34, we've got Todd Gilliland replacing him. We saw Michael McDowell, Todd Gilliland just be on top of the super speedways all last season. They had the aerodynamic advantage, especially in qualifying. McDowell had that main number 34 team. Gilliland will be moving up there, and he will be the top dog on this team for sure. Zane Smith, you've got to look at him with way more upside than Spire. Their Front Row is a better team than Spire. Zane Smith, a really good driver from the Truck Series. I think he should be someone you have a more optimistic look on this season for this team. And Todd Gilliland was pretty impressive last season, given he was on the second best car on this team. With him being the primary focus, I expect a much better season from Gilliland as he's the main focus of this team. Spire Motorsports, a lot of shifting around in Spire this year. You've got Justin Haley. He'll continue to drive Corey LaJoie's old number 7 car. He replaced him late last season, coming in from Rickware Motorsports and Rickware Racing. And, of course, he used to drive this car in the past with Spire, so he's kind of back in a familiar situation here. We weren't really the season before, Haley mysteriously went to Rick Ware out of nowhere. We didn't really know why he would leave his spot, but he ended up being all right, and kind of just doing what he usually does. With him being back in Spire, I guess it's sort of a move up, but not as big of a move up as we would have thought before. Rick Ware was surprisingly more competitive last season. Michael McDowell replacing Zane Smith in the number 71 car. You've got to make sure that we do not get baited by Michael McDowell until he really proves that he can have as much success here at Spire with these Chevy cars that he did with the Ford cars in front row. I would lower my expectations for him. He's been really good at the road courses and the super speedways specifically. But at super speedways, Ford having the aerodynamic advantage, he's not really going to be setting any front row qualifying positions anymore. He got so many poles over the last season or two. And at the road course, he's still going to be good. He's still talented at them, but I don't think that speed and that ability to lead laps is going to be a thing anymore. And with Indianapolis GP going by the wayside, he's got a little bit less upside overall. Other driver changes in the Cup Series. We've got Harrison Burton being demoted to the Xfinity Series in the number 21 Wood Bros car, the de facto fourth Penske car. He'll be replaced by Josh Berry. Now, Josh Berry last year in his rookie season taken over for Kevin Harvick in his car. Kind of underperformed a bit after being pretty good in the Xfinity Series, being an able and capable winner. This is a downgrade of equipment for him. He'll probably be a little bit better at places like super speedways, but you got to lower your expectations for him just a bit, and they weren't really all that high to begin with. We've got Daniel Hemrick getting demoted all the way down to the Truck Series, but he's going to be in some of the best equipment the Truck Series has to offer, so we'll talk about that later in the video. He's getting replaced by Ty Dillon, and it's going to be a number change with the number 10 available from Stewart-Haas Racing. So Ty Dillon has already impressed quite a bit. He actually looked pretty decent at the Clash, and he put up a really good qualifying time in Daytona from what we've been able to see. This Hemrick car was very confusing last year. They would always be in the bottom 3 or 4 of odds and pricing, but they finished top 20 in a majority of their intermediate track races, mostly via just luck and just being able to survive. So they kind of overperformed last season in pretty bad equipment. We expect this equipment to be kind of similar to the Ty Dillon of old. The number 13 Ty Dillon, the Geico Ty Dillon, but who knows? He might have a tiny bit more upside than we're used to, but still, it's just Ty Dillon. He's really just going to be pretty decent at the tracks where he's decent and consistent at, but most of the time he's going to be a back marker. 51 going to be ran full time by everybody's favorite woman beater Cody Ware for Rick Ware Racing. Yay, Nepo baby. Not much news there, although he did run surprisingly decent last season. And then the number 01 car. Yeah, we're throwing zeros in front of stuff now. That's great. It's going to be ran part-time by Corey LaJoie for Rick Ware Racing. That's kind of the only ride he's got going for him right now. It was a wrecking ball last season. Not much upside to be had here. He's going to be a back burner. Trackhouse running some one-offs. So we've got Helio Castroneves, a really interesting name, running in the Daytona 500, but he doesn't look very fast so far. And Connor Zilic, probably the hottest up-and-coming driver in all of NASCAR. He's going to be running at the Circuit of Americas in the Project 91 car for Trackhouse, so he'll definitely be an interesting person to look at. He's, got some real good road course upside. And on to the Xfinity Series. Good amount of changes in the Xfinity Series, especially with the best teams of all. We've got Mr. Connor Zilic taking over the 88 car, the one that Dale Jr. every now and again hops in. Going full-time in the Xfinity Series, Connor Zilic, tons of upside to be had here. He is going to be a 9-10K guy consistently. He's probably going to get probably multiple wins. He's really good. The road courses, he's going to be some odds-on favorite probably. The number 1 Sam Mayer, goodbye. That'll be Carson Kvapil taking over for him for Junior Motorsports. Another up-and-coming guy, maybe not so much as Zilich, but another guy who will have some really good upside, probably like a 9K guy. Pretty similar upside to like Sam Mayer, just not so much on the road courses. AJ Allmendinger, who was full-time last season. He's moving back up to Cup. But yeah, he'll be replaced by Christian Eckes, who was one of the absolute best Truck Series racers last year. Last year, the Truck Series was absolutely dominated by Corey Heim and Christian Eckes. Christian Eckes making the jump up to Xfinity for Colleague. And I guess I did forget to put in the Cup Series that, yeah, AJ Allmendinger going back to full-time in the Cup Series. Just a road course guy. You kind of know the drill with AJ. He's been back and forth a few times. But Christian Eckes, Colleague, not the most exciting equipment to be in the Xfinity Series. A bit of a step down from the Junior Motorsports and Joe Gibbs Racings of the world. But Christian Eckes, one of the huge upcoming talents from the Truck Series. So it should be interesting to see what he can do in a full season in the Xfinity Series. Now on to JGR, a lot of changes here. The number 20 car, that was kind of a part-time car that most of the time would be ran by Almirola, John Hunter Nemechek, race-winning upside. That is once again going to be piloted by Brandon Jones, who switched around teams but is back with Joe Gibbs Racing. You can kind of expect the same Brandon Jones that you're used to. Not much change there. He is forever going to be stuck in the Xfinity Series. Number 18 car for JGR, another good one. Ran by Sheldon Creed last year. Showed a lot of upside. Obviously not winning upside because it's Sheldon Creed, but still, finished second a lot. That's going to be William Sawalich coming up. Another young up-and-coming driver from the ARCA series. He'll be running full-time in the number 18 car, and he should have some pretty good upside. About a 9K driver, typically week to week. And then Taylor Gray, going to race the number 54 full-time for JGR. Moving up from the Truck Series. So JGR, a lot of people switching around for them, but they're still going to have some of the highest upside in all of the Xfinity Series there. They'll probably just be like second fiddle to whoever the Cup Series guy is that week in like the Hendrick car or what have you. Sam Mayer going to the new number 41 full-time for Haas Factory Racing. We kind of mentioned that earlier. Not sure how big of a step down this is from Junior Motorsports equipment, but he was not really the top dog over there. I guess a slightly lower expectation for Sam Mayer, who's like an 8 or 9K guy typically. Then we've got Cole Custer graduating up to the Cup Series again, and so this 00 car will be taken over by Sheldon Creed, who's been passed around a bunch. He's now raced in with all the manufacturers in Xfinity, going from Chevrolet to Toyota, and now running a Ford for Haas Factory. He's been like a 9K guy, typically pricing-wise, and should probably stay around that range. But going from JGR to this equipment is going to be a little bit of a downgrade for him. Parker Kligerman retiring from full-time racing in the Xfinity Series. RIP, the most consistent finisher. Dude just finished 9th every race. It was good for cash, but, whatever. He's out of there. Nick Sanchez coming up from the Truck Series to run that 48 for Big Machine Racing full-time. He showed some upside, dominated a few races, but was definitely not up there with the Heims and the Eckeses and the Majeskis of the world. But he'll have a chance to show himself the Xfinity Series. The number 5 car of Anthony Alfredo for our Motorsports. It's going to be ran by Chris Wright. A bit of a downgrade here. Alfredo, very, consistent 15th to 12th place dude. Chris Wright, I don't see as much upside from him. He's going to be a really mid team, probably like a 7K driver week to week. The number 42 of Leyland Honeyman, a permanent 5K guy who always offered some pretty decent upside on a week to week basis. That's where Alfredo is going to be landing for Young's Motorsports. He's probably just going to stay around this range. I think name alone, Alfredo is going to seem more appealing. And that equipment, though, I imagine it's going to be just a 6K price range for someone who I mean is going to be a little bit better of a driver than Honeyman, but I don't know if he's going to be as. I guess they're both like somewhat safe and consistent drivers, but uh, I don't know. We'll have to see how his pricing is on a week to week basis to see if he's really worth it. But don't get baited. This is not the same Alfredo as last season. This is a downgrade of equipment for sure with him. And then Parker Retzlaff, the number 31 Jordan Anderson racing car. We would see him, depending on the track, have top 15 upside. Him being replaced by Blaine Perkins, that is just a big downgrade for this team. I'm not very optimistic about this at all. Blaine Perkins kind of sucks, but we'll see. He was in awful equipment last season, so if he has any skill outside of like maybe short tracks, we'll be able to see it in better equipment here, but I really doubt he's going to do all that much. And then Parker Retzlaff going to Alpha Prime Racing, replacing the number 4 car of Dawson Cram, which was a really bad 5K car from last season. He's going to be a much better driver with more upside here. Just a nice young up-and-coming driver, but this is a downgrade of equipment for him, I do believe. We've seen Alpha Prime with like Tommy Joe Martin's show like top 20 upside, but this car really fucking sucked last year. I don't have a lot of hope for Retzlaff here, but we'll see. Matt DiBenedetto, the number 38 Ford, just making a number and a manufacturer change for Viking Motorsports, going to the number 99 with Chevy, and they will be dropping their Ryan Sieg alliance. So, I mean, there wasn't really all that much of alliance in the first place. I expect a big downgrade for him here, switching over to Chevy. I think the downfall of Matt DiBenedetto is just going to continue, and it's kind of sad. Number change alone for Ryan Ellis. He'll be running for DGM, just 92 to 71. Nothing crazy there. And Leland Honeyman to the number 70 full-time Derek Cope Motorsports. It's a downgrade of equipment for him. I know a 5K guy. Like, I don't know how... I mean, he's still going to be a 5K guy because that's like as cheap as you could be, but this equipment is going to be significantly worse for him. I like this. I like the Honeyman, but man, he's just going to go from a sneaky play to a not that great play. And then Garrett Smithley running the number 14 full-time for SSG. This is just going to be a bad play all the time. He was already kind of running for them a little bit. Full-time for Garrett Smithley. I mean, shout out to him for teaching JonTron how to drive a NASCAR, but this is not going to be a good play ever. And then on to the Truck Series, my favorite series of all. Not as much movement here, but obviously some big names filling some big shoes. You got to start off with Christian Eckes, who, you know, if it wasn't for Corey Heim, would have been just the most dominating force last year by far. He was a permanent top 3 fixture week to week. But did play second fiddle to Heim overall in the season. So he's in that Mick Anally MHR team. Probably the best team. Yeah, probably the best team in all of the Truck Series. Right there with like Tricon. He will be replaced by Daniel Hemrick, getting demoted from the Cup Series. You know, he'd been an Xfinity Series guy before. Now he's going down the Truck Series. He might smurf. I'm not going to lie. He might smurf. He's going to be pretty expensive week to week. Probably a better driver than Eckes overall, but Eckes has more like upside. So it might take him a minute to get used to the trucks. We're going to have to see, but he's going to be probably a race favorite a lot of the time. We'll have to see how that goes, but this is like a 10K driver we're looking at here. Connor Mosack racing the number 81 full-time for MHR. He was pretty decent in the Xfinity Series. We'll have to see with the trucks. We're not sure how good he'll be, but on MHR, you should probably expect him to be about as good as like Tyler Ankrum with his team, which, you know, like a 5th to 7th place car, something like that. And then the number 5 of Dean Thompson for Tricon. The new up-and-coming girl from ARCA, Tony Breidinger, is going to bring all of her, 5 million social media followers into this car. Now, is this a clout signing? Yeah, this is a clout signing. But the thing about Dean Thompson was he was fast. Like, his equipment was good. He's just, I think for like 2 or 3 straight seasons, he like led the truck series in incident rate. The dude was just a wrecking ball. If Tony can just keep it straight, I have hope that she'll be more than a Haley Deegan, but we're going to have to see here. Taylor Gray moving up to Xfinity Series. We're going to see Gio Ruggiero take over his number 17 truck for Tricon. So a complete rookie there. Again, that's going to be a wait and see, but the equipment is really good. Not the best Tricon equipment, but, Taylor Gray was like a 10th place dude from a week-to-week basis with top 5 upside. I think this is a bit of a step down going to Gio, but again, we'll see. There's a lot of we'll see. Just, the point of this video mainly is to just make sure that we have the big names kind of out of the way so we don't get tricked as this new season's upon us. The number 38 of Lane Riggs. Awesome driver last year. Came in, started winning at some short tracks. This is going to be Chandler Smith's car. He's going back down from the Xfinity Series. And this is some really, really, really good equipment. Chandler Smith should be up there probably in like the top 5 of the series for sure. Maybe top 3 if there aren't any Cup Series guys. So this will be a pretty big name to watch out for, Chandler Smith. And then Riggs is just going to switch numbers from the 38 to the 34. That's the second series in which Front Row has done exactly that. So interesting. But yeah, Riggs, we should expect a career year from him. He should definitely win multiple races and should be one of the top names in the truck series that's not named Corey Heim. Then moving on, Chase Purdy in that number 77 car for Spire Motorsports going to be replaced full-time by Andres Perez de Lara. Probably a little bit of a step down here. Chase Purdy, just a 15th place dude, 10th to 15th place dude. Andres, I just expect him to kind of run out of the top 15. Maybe he'll be all right, but we'll see. He's going to be very green. The number 7 is going to be a split between Corey Day, who's going to run most of the races, then Justin Haley when he does his spot starts in the truck series. And, of course, Kyle Busch is going to get in there and dominate like 5 races or whatever he's allowed to. With his Spire car, pretty straightforward there. And the number 1 car, another split Smurf car. Not really a Smurf car, because, none of these names are that crazy, but Brent Crews is going to run it most of the time. William Sawalich, it'll be really interesting when he gets in this equipment. Brandon Jones a little bit less so, but in the truck series, he will be a little bit better than you're used to with him in the Xfinity Series, where you can only really win at Kansas. And then Lawless Allen, a 5K guy from last year. You might actually have to give a shit about Lawless Allen and this equipment, but he's still very shaky guy overall. And that is going to do it for this video. So let's have an awesome 2025 season. Remember some of these key changes. And don't get caught with your pants down thinking of last year's information. And I'll see you guys later.